Well, good evening, race fans, and welcome back to another week of racing here at Invictus Racing League. This is Monday Night F1, of course, the division at the top of the tiers. And my name is Webbo, here to take you through tonight's possibly championship deciding round. It could well be the championship deciding round, at least for the Drivers' Championship. And we are hoping to crown a new winner, a new F1 champion here, potentially with Ghost. But joining me as we head out to Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix, joining me as usual, we've got JP in the comms box. Good evening, JP.
Good evening, Weber. How are you?
Yeah, doing good, and always a bit of extra spice when it comes to getting a championship or a champion crowned. What exactly does Ghost have to do tonight to make that happen?
I mean, the basis is top 6 for Ghost, which you'd have to think, based on his pace this season, probably won't be too much of a hard task. But that's if he keeps it on the track and out of the wall. Absolutely.
It's a tricky track. It is deceptively problematic, especially offline if you are fighting with other drivers or having to go offline for various reasons. It's also a track where we might see some weather. I haven't had a weather update yet from my forecasters. Good evening to ARL or AJ in the chat, who's here to drive. He'll probably be the first one out the pits as usual, and he's hopefully trying to come back strong this week after a disappointment from last time. And good evening to Keza as well. Good evening everybody else who is joining us. Do say hello, pop a note into the chat, and make sure that we know who you're here to support. But the Brazilian Grand Prix coming up for you. Of course, qualifying first, 20-minute qualifying session for all drivers to decide their starting positions. A little bit low on the old attendance tonight, JP, but hopefully these are the pros, and we'll get plenty to the finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously not quite as high as we'd like, but 12 cars in, which is good to see. At least still at this stage, especially with the championships coming to a close and positions being sorted. I mean, but this circuit does it's old school and it does hand itself to close racing, so hopefully it won't be too much of an issue. It just depends whether we're going to get any wet weather in any of the sessions here at Sao Paulo.
Absolutely.
Especially if it becomes a mixed weather race, because that's going to be very hard for the drivers to tell when to come in for different sets of tyres.
Well, I know you've been digging into all of our stats and the current standings. Of course, we've got Ghost on top. Ghost with a fairer chunk of the points. 11 wins so far. And my little tidbit tonight is that Ghost currently has a higher win rate percentage this season than Max Verstappen. And he could continue that trend. He's currently about 3 or 4% higher in his win to races completed, with the 11th race complete, 4 to go in our run to the final at the end of the season down there in December. But what about the rest of those standings for us, JP?
Yeah, so Ghost 100. Webbo's done his rain dance, and we've got some rain, and that looks like it's going to be full wet weather as well.
That is heavy rain.
That is not going to be intermediates, but it does mean this will mean whoever's out first might actually have the best chance of a lap time, because if the rain's not going to let up, this track should actually get worse for time as it gets increasingly wetter.
Right.
And let's speak of ARL. I think that's him on the way out now. Yes, it is the number 8 Alpha Tauri just coming onto the track. But yeah, Ghost has 149 points to Livermore's 89. That's a 60 points difference.
Wow.
If Ghost can leave here with 48 points or more advantage, he will be crowned champion. Stefan is on 82. Burmeister 76. Delange 71. Speed Queen 56, ARL 55, Luke Bailey 34, Ivan 32, and Reska rounds out that top 10 on 30. And according to our weatherman on the phone, Webbo, qualifying wet, race, we're not quite sure.
Oh, interesting. Well, great. I don't mind a bit of that, actually, around Brazil. That probably means we will end up with a little bit of precipitation, at least, to spice things up. We've got, like I say, ARL out there. There's puddles everywhere. This is going to be very difficult, and I wonder what kind of decisions they're making. I wonder if ARL has possibly rushed his setup decision here tonight to get out there and have that first lap under your expert commentary and track guide that we'll do live coming up as they head, as ARL heads up towards that line there, JP.
Yes, the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, 4.3 kilometres long, first Grand Prix in 1973. Up to the first corner, curve 1. Again, hit the brakes. You want to try and keep it tight on the left-hand side as you head through the centre S, because it opens up the right-hand side just a bit too tight there for ARL, and it shows on the exit there. Curva de Sol, normally flat in the dry, not so flat in the
I think we need to rename that corner tonight.
The Retta Aposta into Descida de Lago, awkward because it's downhill, slightly off cambered, as you see the slide there, and then you rise back up the hill, out of 5 towards Ferradura. This little horseshoe is a double apex right-hander as you go into Larinia and up towards S. It's really tight. Hairpin right as we enter effectively the downfall section of the circuit. Through Pinarino, nice cambered corner. Car always wants to get a little bit light through there. Bico to Pato, slightly tighter than the first hairpin. You'll be careful on the throttle here because it's easy to spin. Magulio, which is normally flat in the dry, towards Juncao, the final proper corner of the circuit. And that AlphaTauri does look a bit skatey, so I think we've definitely gone for a dry setup here. And then the rest of the lap, and normally again flat in the dry, but in the wet, these little kinks do actually act a little bit like corners. Normally you stay to the left for the shortest run to the line, but AR going right, obviously going for another lap. Not too happy with that one, I would assume, based on that final line to B line.
Yeah, it was. It's a sighter lap. He at least completed that lap and stayed valid. And I'm sure that cold track, cold tyres, and fresh, potentially on the wrong setup for the conditions, deliberately, I'm sure, in gambling for the race. Livingwall, the only driver to keep Ghost off the podium in I think 8 races, 7 or 8 races at least, and the only driver, the only other multiple winner we have so far this season. Livingwall goes towards the line then. Will he better ARL? No, indeed not. So it is not as straightforward. Ghost has invalidated his next lap. Delange is currently, well...
backwards at Magulio.
Quite sure what you'd call that. It's not quite lawn mowing, is it? But it wasn't much different. Michael Lutka then, in the Red Bull, just comes out of Yunsao and heading up the hill, and a big snap on the way out as well. It is very, very tricky out there. And I'll tell you what, JP, it's a fiendishly difficult pit lane as well. I have seen 2 drivers disqualified in the last week blocking pit exit in the dry, and I've seen a race where a wet safety car was called.
Round. Sorry, Webbo.
Yeah.
Ghost's first flying lap was invalidated by track limits, and now he's just spun coming out of the Curva de Sol at turn 3. So this has really put Ghost on the back foot. Especially with Livingwall up in 3rd, because whilst qualifying isn't necessarily the most important thing because there's no points on offer, points come on Sunday, it doesn't help your case to get the position you need on the Sunday. But I think a lot of people have had a lot of invalidated laps. Only 4 people completed a legal lap so far. But Reshka for Alpine, that's a good time from him, and it's going to put pressure on Alfa Romeo and Haas, who we have to remember, whilst Stefan goes top of the timesheet with a 20.4, you have to think, obviously, whilst Ghost is almost wrapping up the drivers, there's still a constructors battle going on here.
Yeah. Ivan Belov just trying to thread his way through Magulio. That is a tricky corner in the dry, Magulio. It is a traction zone, effectively, on the way out of Bico di Pato and towards Yunsao. And you can lose the car quite easily getting the wrong line through there, and he did so under the wet conditions. Heads towards the line then, Ivan Belov on the podium for the first time in F1 last race, and there he is into P3, 120.866. I think the track will improve, potentially, or at least the drivers will improve over this one, as Ghost has invalidated his next lap as well before it's even begun.
I think he ended up possibly either cutting or going wide at Shunkao.
Yeah. Speed Queen on top.
Yeah, I think Speed Queen is very good in the wet, we know this, so that's a good time. But Ghost, this is severe pressure now, because this will be, in essence, the fourth lap he's going to put on his tyres. 1 out lap, 2 effective flying laps. This will be the third flying lap now. Now, whilst the tyres don't tend to wear too much in the wet, as I think we've got a hash round at the Curve de Sol, whilst they don't wear too much, it won't be helpful to have some extra wear on your tyres, but it's not a major disadvantage at this stage.
No, I wonder if the drivers have decided to fill the car with fuel for the session and just keep running.
Interestingly, I thought Livingwall.
I saw the same thing you did.
I've got. Are you watching Livingwall changing tyres there?
Reschke goes P3, improves his time up to P3, 1:26.11. Burmeister is running on the track at the moment. It was obviously Stefan who had the moment. He's got back up to racing speed. Burmeister yet to log a time. Just to complete that thought though, earlier, I have watched a race before, commentated over a race where Speed Queen goes very quick indeed, where a wet race was declared, a safety car came out, and every single driver got a 5-second penalty coming to the pits, because there is no grip in the wet conditions on the way in. If any of the drivers are listening, they'll be extra careful tonight for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was actually Burmeister who spun at the Curve de Sol. That was the house that turned through. He just let Stefan through on the Rete Aposta, give his teammate the track, and Stefan is going quicker. Is it by enough? Not quite, but that is severely close. Just 0.02 of a second separating the top two.
Tremendous stuff. Delange now next on a hot lap here. Still wearing that aerodynamically inefficient helmet is Delange. Hopefully feeling a bit better this week as well. We didn't really get much of an update, but he did complete the race last week, I believe, heading towards the end of his second sector.
It's fair to say his helmet is going to be very much at home in these conditions, isn't it?
Absolutely. He'll be searching out for deep puddles with that helmet on. Goes across the second sector, 101.552. Good evening to Kelvin, who cheers on Speed Queen.
And Ghost has rocked up to the leaderboard once again, and Speed Queen takes it straight back off him.
Speed Queen going very quickly indeed. I'll finish this lap on board Delange, and then we'll join Speed Queen, see what her secrets are. As Delange goes fourth, 20.164, very nice indeed. But it seems to be Speed Queen, Ghost, and Stefan who are incredibly close to one another. Or Speed Queen did take a big step forward that lap. In fact, she's dialing it back here for potentially for charging the car at this point.
Yeah, I mean, normally, in the wet is not too bad for the ERS, but yeah, normally around here you'd be doing a quick lap. Burmeister now puts enough 19.3 to go on pole position. So does this mean actually the rain does look like it's lightening up here, Webbo? I can see a couple of drivers toying with the idea of some intermediates here. And I wonder if potentially that's what the likes of Smoke and Tirac, because I think they've only come out for maybe an outlap or not at all, to be honest. And they're still in the pits, so it makes me wonder if they're waiting to see if this track is going to dry up to inters and just come straight out on the intermediate tyres.
Michael Looker up to P8, absolutely. The drivers have yet to actually leave the pits on those intermediates. I don't know if there's some gamesmanship happening. Michael Looker decides to possibly risk beaching the car there on the way out, well, probably the way into Curva del Sol, and has got some polystyrene blocks on the car at the moment as well. Looking to see if I can find a driver actually attacking the racetrack at the moment. Ivan Belov possibly? Very gently through here. It's difficult to find a driver pushing hard because they don't look quick when they're in the wet, do they?
No, I think Speed Queen is on another lap as well, just behind Ivan as she heads into the Piscina de Lago. So Burmeister's probably on a charge lap. Stefan coming to the end of his latest attempts in the Haas. What does he do? He stays left as per normal, and he's at 19.2, so times are tumbling. Are we going to see those intermediate tyres? I can see a few drivers are toying with it. Who's going to be the first? It's going to be ARL, the first to give it a go. He's on the intermediate tyres for the AlphaTauri, and everyone in the pits is probably going to be sat in their car watching their screen, because you can have a look at the outboard cameras.
And there's time to make that decision. I'm waiting to see. Speed Queen is 777 up on her current lap, only into sector 2. It looked like she was crawling around the second sector, but it's obviously the quickest way through. Very, very low revs, high gears, coming through now towards the line. Speed Queen, will she recapture pole? Yes, indeed. 1:18.649 is an incredible time from Speed Queen relative to the other drivers at this point.
That is a fantastic time from the Speed Queen. I'm going to ride on board with ARL for the next lap. Well, basically, depending on who you want to follow. As ARL almost losing the back end through Juncal. Possibly a bit too much curb there, but I'll stay on board and report back to see what the car's like, because Reshka has also taken the gamble, as has Living Wall, all three of those out on the intermediate tyres.
Burmeister stuffing up the exit over on the south. Stefan heading into the pits. I think he might be calling it for intermediates at this point. That looked like a pretty quick entry into the pits as well. Reshka on the intermediates out there and just about to start, I think, his next lap.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on this corner intermediates at the moment. ARL just had a massive slide through Curve 1 heading towards the centre S.
Yeah, and Reshka struggling as well, seesawing the steering through the Estor Senna. So it is absolutely not there yet for the intermediates, but they could hit the sweet spot shortly. ARL though, he's basically taking a drift line through these corners at the moment.
Yeah, he really is fighting this car, so I think it's slightly too early here for intermediates, but the problem is without cars out there, the line doesn't dry, and they don't tend to work so well anyway, so the drivers might want to get out on track if they want to make use of these faster tyres. Just they've got a hell of a lot more tyre on the deck. Go on, Robert.
Yeah, interesting to see Living Wall with much better grip into the first three corners. I wonder if his setup is favouring higher downforce, and he is quicker than he's been through Sector 1. So Living Wall could be the trigger point for everybody else. They'll be watching everybody's sector times as long as they stay positive to their own performance. Living Wall currently in P10 and going quicker than he's gone before. I think that's the first driver we've seen making use of these intermediates well. Lots of short shifting going on, although risking putting the car down into second gear, coming through Pinjarino into the Bico de Pato. Watch out for overtakes into Bico de Pato in early laps, either in the race or in the restart. But Living Wall about to cross the second sector, and he's a second to the good. He was on a 21.4, so he needs a lot more than that to get up onto the front row, but it is a purple middle sector, JP, so Living Wall, this one could jump up quite significantly and guide everybody towards the intermediate tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a 20.4, so still not quite there, but it depends. Obviously, the intermediates do need that little bit extra heat compared to the wets to work properly. So is it just a case that they're trying to get the heat into the tyres? He lights them up a little bit. I would also suggest that he's maybe going straight onto a second flying lap here for Living Wall. Because like I say, in the wet you don't use the ERS as much as you would do. He gets away with that one for track limits. Must have just kept the wheel on the line. Yeah, you do use a hell of a lot less ERS, just purely because you're not on the throttle so much.
Well, the top three are on outlaps. Delange in 5th is positive to his best time so far. I must say hello to Rents as well. Very dedicated watcher of our races. Delange improves, but not by much. Ghost improved, but not by a lot as well. Not enough to gain a place. And we will see how the rest of the drivers manage to navigate these early laps on the intermediate tyres. 2.5 minutes to go. Still no time set by Tirac, who is still in the pits, in fact. And I'm just going to check out the order of the drivers at the front here. It is Stefan first, then Burmeister, and then Speed Queen, the top three. Very close to one another. Rent's not appreciating how long it took me to say hello tonight. Well, my apologies. We're commentating over a qualifying session. Turn up early when they're in the garage, and we'll be sure to say hello. Stefan, 6/10 improvement, it seems, on that one. He's about to start the lap though, and it's Speed Queen at the front of the field on a 1:18.649 with a 3/10 near to 3/10 gap to the nearest driver, Ghost, at the moment for Speed Queen.
Yeah, and that was an improvement for Ghost onto an 18.9 on his latest lap. So the intermediates are now starting to work, and Tirak is on his outlap. But will he get enough temperature into those tyres? I'm not so sure, because it looks like it's taking a couple of laps for these drivers to bring in these intermediates. Meanwhile, Stefan going into Essa and now Pinarino. Up to the Pico de Pato for him. Let's see what he does into here. It's third gear. Pretty much what I thought most drivers would be. Obviously, living more an exception to that. Magulio, half throttle, so slightly, again, this shows you how much more grip the Intis have got. It's a slightly more throttle. Too much curve through Juncal though.
Speed Queen is visibly catching those Haas drivers, and she is positive to her own fastest time to the second sector. Let's see what those Haas drivers manage. Stefan already up and crosses the line. Burmeister goes faster still, can't quite catch Speed Queen, who goes even faster by 0.06 of a second to her fastest time. The rain still sprinkling, but nothing like we had at the start of the session.
No, absolutely, it is just a sprinkling compared to what it was at the start. Interestingly, the McLaren has simply decided to stay out on wet, which is a very bizarre decision, unless they're expecting rain in the race, maybe trying to save, although you do get 4 sets of these intermediate tyres, so it's a strange thing to try and save them.
12 seconds you've got to cross the line to start your final lap. Burmeister probably won't thank his teammate for being so close in front of him here at the moment through the next sector. This is it. These are the final laps. Everyone who has crossed the line now can finish it, but nobody can start another lap. Rain light flashing on the back of Stefan's Haas. This may help Burmeister up the hill if he can manage to navigate this one. 1/10 to the good is Burmeister into sector 2. Through sector 2, I should say. Can't give you an update on Speed Queen. It is Stefan towards the line then, and he improves, does he? He's nearly half a second faster than he's been before. So far, up to second, quickly beaten by Burmeister, and Speed Queen faster, even once again. Speed Queen underlining her pace onto a 1:18.515. What can Ghost do? Currently 4th position. I don't think he's going to make this happen, JP.
I think I saw a split time that he's 1.1 slower, so yeah, he's straight in the pits. 4th place for Ghost for now. His teammate Reshka isn't on a lap. Delange is coming through Juncal. I think that's ARL. Just
ARL purple middle sector. And sort of a little bit crossed up coming over Yunsal curve. Can he improve from 12th? Surely he can. Crosses the line. Wow, 6th place improvement. Brilliant stuff from ARL at the death. Quickly dropped down to 7th. And there goes Reshka next to his teammate. And that will comfort Ghost no end to have a teammate right by him and in their battle for the Constructors' Championship. But Speed Queen claims her, I think, first pole of the season, and in absolute style tonight, JP.
Yeah, I mean, no one was touching her, were they, round here in the wet? It just depends now whether that setup is biased to the wet and whether we're expecting any weather going into effectively the Sunday race. But the grid for the Brazilian Grand Prix, it is Speed Queen who takes a phenomenal pole position from Burmeister. Row 2 is Stefan and Delange. Row 3 is an Alpine lockout with Ghost and Reshka. Row 4 is Ivan and ARL. Row 5 is Livingwall and Tarak. Row 6, Michael Lutka and Simply. And at the back on row 7 on his own, Smoke FX44 in the other Ferrari.
Interestingly, it looks like Simply 90 set his fastest lap on the wets and didn't actually get a time.
On the wets.
Yeah.
He didn't even touch the intermediates, which I was very surprised about.
Yeah. Good evening to Gam88, who shows up very early to say, nice one, Speed Queen, this time. There was some speculation last season, JP, that Gam88 was actually a bot who was a timed comment who would turn up and say, go Speed Queen, but has since dissuaded us of that rumour. Jim is here as well, and he's cheering on Burmeister, and I think is a friend of Speed Queen. No one could begrudge Speed Queen that pole position, though. Tremendous work, and it's great to see these very experienced Invictus Racing League F1 drivers at the forefront when it comes to the rain around Sao Paulo. We are going to be straight in, as usual, to the race. The sun is shining. That's all we know so far. It's a little bit of a question mark over the conditions, but we'll be straight into the race. No time for a formation lap. Do drop in your podium predictions as quickly as possible. Remember, hardly any kudos given after the lights go out, and we beg your forgiveness for any sloppy camera work, because it is a very, very quickly organised start situation. JP will ride on board someone near the back and see what happens over that first lap as we take you through from the mainstream on the towards the front of the grid as much as possible. I am having a real struggle at the moment, JP, getting hold of a decent camera angle at the start of races. Something has changed with the recent update, and I keep getting really, really bad angles. Sometimes it's like rear facing behind the steering wheel is all I can get.
Yeah, it can be a bit interesting, but as we can see, it's dry for the race start. Now, I think a lot of people here will be looking at the sky going, oh, it's a dry race, we're absolutely fine, but as we know, this is Brazil. And in Brazil, the weather can turn on you very, very quickly. I mean, no real spoilers, but obviously in the recent Grand Prix, especially in the qualifying, we saw that. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if it stays like this for the majority of the race.
I've got our countdown timer. We are about to get underway for our 50% race around Sao Paulo, the 12th race of our 15-race season. Reminder that Ghost needs a 6th place regardless of Living Wall's result in order to secure the championship. Living Wall, though, must win if Ghost finishes outside the top 6 to prolong this championship to round 13. But we are expecting Ghost to get there. It is 5 lights on. We're almost underway for you, and it's drop the clutch and go away from the start. The Haas of Burmeister getting a pretty handy launch. I can't see the tyre selections just yet, but it's Haas 2, 3. Burmeister right alongside Speed Queen, who claims the inside through the Estel Senna. They give each other space, and Burmeister over the curb spins and ruins that fantastic qualifying performance. Down he goes to the tail of the field, and Speed Queen breathes easily on the way down the Reta Aposta, JP.
Yeah, everyone else cleanly away. Not ideal for Haas. Everyone on the mediums except for Living Wall. So Living Wall, the only person on the hard compound tyre here. But everyone else very clean. And once again, Haas has spun early in the race, and that is really going to hurt their chance of constructors, because they were in a very nice position after qualifying.
Yeah, it is a very lively car for the drivers this year. It does seem very prone. I know they're equalised performance, but it does seem like the Haas is particularly prone to spinning, or the drivers perhaps struggling to get on terms. It is pretty much only Burmeister that has changed a significant amount of positions so far in the race. We've got ARL up 3, Tirac up 3, so the Alpha Tauri is having a stonking start away from the lights, and Ghost is tucked up right behind Stefan in 3rd place here. Speed Queen getting away from them, but Ghost already with the slipstream, and has a little look down the inside, more to off-put, I think, Stefan's line, but Stefan was having none of it. This is all going to have to be done with slipstream on the way through Curva del Sol. We've got Ghost right up behind Stefan. Will he be able to make use of that? He pulls out from the slipstream, and no, unfortunately, no challenge down into the Cida de Laga on lap 2.
Yeah, Michael Looker did pass Smoke at the end of lap 1 to get into 11th. But everyone just kind of like following everyone, and we are about to have the world's largest DRS train, because obviously after this lap ends, they get DRS, and their first opportunity is down the Reta Aposta into Cida de Lago. So we're about to have one hell of a DRS train heading down there very shortly.
Absolutely. So heading through then the second sector, finishing out that second sector of lap 2. Speed Queen leads from Stefan, and Ghost well in the right position to win the championship as things stand in P3, but the race is very young. Only end of lap 2 out of 36. It could be anybody making an attempt for a move down into the Estor Senna and Curva 1, but I think just those gaps just closing up, and Burmeister caught Smoke by 2 seconds on that previous lap, and now we have a DRS train the entire field long, It looks like Ghost, though, with DRS on the back of Stefan, who has tucked himself into the 1 second window behind Speed Queen. ARL challenging Delange is going to be stuck on the difficult outside run, but he yields before they go through Ferradura.
Yeah, very sensible that from ARL. It's very early in the race,
Yep.
only lap 3. And as they head through Pinarino, this has allowed Ghost to break the 1 second to Delange, so he's got no threat from behind. He can just focus on Stefan ahead of him, because even though this will seed him the championship, let's face it, Ghost is going to be looking for a 9th win of the season. I think it's 9th or 8th, one or the other. It's a lot, put it that way.
This would be win number 9. He has 8 in the bag, and as I say, 8 out of 11 is a better win percentage than Verstappen this year. Goes just to underline the amount of dominance that he's got.
ARL on Delange. Sorry,
Fantastic.
ARL with DRS down the straight, down the inside for curve 1, but now Delange gets the opportunity to come back at him down the Reta Aposta with DRS himself. Question is, can he get alongside? The answer is no, he can't. And in fact, Reshka has actually got more on the back of Delange than Delange has got on the back of ARL there.
Absolutely. Smoke at the tail of the field now. Burmeister getting past P2, P12. Speed Queen still in the lead of this race. Stefan hanging on to the DRS behind, with Ghost who is champing at the bit here to get ahead. He'd love to be up and challenging for the lead of this race. I'm sure that the records mean quite a lot to Ghost. He's been active in Invictus Racing League for long enough to really care about this. ARL struggling to stay ahead of Delange, perhaps having to charge a bit of ERS in the middle sector, but getting the power down not quite as convincingly. But here comes Ghost then up the hill towards the start finish line at the end of lap 4, start of lap 5, and it's Stefan who is trying to go around the outside of Speed Queen with the DRS profit. Stefan making the outside move, working to cover 1, and Speed Queen looking to try and get the retaliation for it. Ghost looking to try and take advantage of both of them with a double toe. Speed Queen with the DRS, not quite the drive, and has to hang out on the outside of the circuit. So Stefan in the lead now on lap 5.
Yeah, and Stefan's going to want to run away. How many times have we seen Stefan and Ghost 1 and 2, and Ghost just pipping him out? So this is going to be a crucial middle sector for Stefan. It's not easy to overtake through here, so if he can get some distance between him and Speed Queen, maybe try and break that 1 second as fast as he can. He could be in a really nice position here, but further down, Tirak is all over the back of Ghost's teammate of Reshka. Again, just can't quite find a way through, even with DRS down the main straight. So I think Reshka, like we've seen before, probably running slightly lesser wings, allowing him to bridge that gap with other people with the DRS. He will have it himself this time down this main straight.
Ghost versus Speed Queen. We go for another move here. Speed Queen gives up the outside once again, and it through. Ghost manages to get here. ARL versus Delange. Yeah. And Delange getting the place back as well. Let's just see what if Ghost can gap Speed Queen on the way out. Ghost has managed to keep DRS down the Reta Aposta, and I think that's going to save him and keep him in that second place. ARL unable to answer back to Delange's challenge into turn 1. Lap 6, we've had plenty of overtakes already. Ghost versus Stefan will now be the story at the front of the field. Stefan in the lead, but only by 0.6 of a second. I thought he was just on the cusp of breaking that DRS, and I think what we're seeing at the moment is Speed Queen in her fairly typical, I would say, slow early part of a stint, fast later part of a stint kind of pattern. She brings the tyres in very gently. She works wonders with tyre lifespan, but unfortunately the start of her stints do tend to be a little bit slower than the topmost drivers here in Tier 1.
Yeah, but it does pay dividends near the end when she's got fresher tyres. That is a massive advantage. Ghost is just not quite there, but if he gets a good run out of here, we've seen it before, if you don't get him on the first hit, if you get a good run through the centre S, you've got a good chance, but I think he's a little bit too far behind with 3/10. It's not quite as long a straight as he needs down the Reta Aposta, but at the moment, as it stands, Ghost is champion after 6 laps.
We've got Reshka and ARL battling. ARL struggling a little bit at the moment. That surprises me, although he did put in a very, very impressive time right at the death of qualifying.
I thought Tirak was going to have a look down the inside of Ferragura, then he did pull out and started to try and fill them here as a Reshka trying to help his teammate out here. But Reshka having none of it, and a very solid defence here in terms of not even having to defend fresh air.
Yeah. Well, Rents is saying that Livingwall is in the best position on the hard tyres. I'm surprised he's able to keep the pace because the hard tyres are absolutely awful around here. Simply 90 may have had a problem coming out of Bicody Pato and is at the tail of the field, has managed to create the first real gap in the field that we've seen so far. Stefan versus Ghost down to a quarter of a second now as they head towards curve 1. Ghost taking the inside line, tries to put Stefan off a little bit, but that does mean that Ghost's line into turn 1 and 2 was a little bit narrow. He's going to need a hell of a exit here to stay on terms with Stefan. There's a good slipstream, DRS is open, Stefan says take the inside, and he's not close enough. Once again, no speculative 50-50 moves. It tells you what you need to know, that Ghost is driving for a championship today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's even that. I mean, the move was never going to be on into Decida de Lago there. To be honest, Ghost would have been expecting to take a lot more time out of Stefan through the centre S there. He took a slightly tighter line to open up the corner, but he just didn't seem to put the traction, or enough traction down to make it count. Meanwhile, Tirak still, although, in fact, actually Tirak through against Reshka.
That was an unusual one. Into Bicody de Pato. Tirak managing to... It didn't even really lunge. He just had a better line. I think the gap was there for him. And he didn't need a second invitation. But Ghost, once again, up the hill. He's a little bit closer already. I think this one should be done here, JP. There he goes, down into turn 1, manages to get the job done. Stefan doesn't fight too hard. I'm assuming he's going to try and get the place back down Reta Aposta and focus on his exit here. Depend on who's got the most ERS between the two of them. Ghost looks to have the legs on Stefan, and now let's see, is it the Ghost show once again, JP?
Well, quite possibly. I think that was a better chance for Stefan down the Reta Aposta, but it looked like Ghost deployed a bit of ERS. Yeah. Through the Gura de Sol, so
and he does have about double the amount that Stefan has. So Ghost typically saves a lot of ERS and is driving with pace in hand. Simply 90, just an update there from Daryl. Simply 90 putting soft tyres on lap 8. That confuses me a little bit. If you're forced into a stop like that, why not try the hards at least and give yourself that option, JP? What do you think?
I suspect he's gone that route mainly because he's so far off the pack here. If he's to put hards on now, he's just going to lose him more times. I think Michael Lutker has just gone after Big Pato, or had a bit of a moment. Yeah, you put the hards on now, you're going to be losing even more time. The hards at this stage, I feel, would take you out of the game effectively. Right. And it also allows simply, if there is a safety car to come in this race, it allows him to have those hard tyres in preparation ready, because if it comes out in the next 3-4 laps, you're going to want the hards rather than mediums. So I suspect that's probably why he's looking to try and gain a bit of time on people ahead in case they do have, in case we do have a safety car of some description.
Interesting to see as well that Speed Queen usually takes that alternate strategy. She usually goes for the harder tyre rather than the majority of the field at the start of the race, but with a sniff of pole position, suddenly the tactics change a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time Speed Queen's around that sort of 5th, 6th, 7th area in qualifying, which enables... It kind of enables you to go slightly differently, but if you're on pole position, you kind of think about track position and looking to get off the line well, because obviously if you're on a hard compound, you're not going to get off the lines as nicely as you will on mediums. So I expect that's, again, just that thing of I'm on pole position, I kind of want to have the track position at the start of this race. Either that, or she's going for a very audacious medium to soft line stop. You never know with Speed Queen. No,
you don't indeed, and neither would she ever tell you either. After the race, we've tried many times to get an insight into Speed Queen's strategy, and she doesn't let you know, even if the race is done and run. But the AlphaTauri is getting pretty close to one another. Stefan catching Ghost quite well as well. I think Ghost might be back into his non-ERS button pressing phase at the moment. But yellow flag sector 2. That is a Ferrari. Is that Smoke?
Ghost. It's Smoke at.
Don't panic, people in the chat. It's not Ghost.
You never know. You might switch cars. Yeah, it just looks like a simple spin. It doesn't look like there's any damage on it. So, but it does allow Michael Lutka to get back into this little fight that they've been having for 11th. Not even a championship point, but every position is nice to have. And simply 25.3 off Michael Lutka. So he is gradually eating away into that gap. But this time probably won't last too long. Meanwhile, Delange's now broken DRS on ARL, so ARL under threat from Tirac. The question is, do we see some good teamwork here between the Alpha Towers? Because it looks like Tirac's got the pace at the moment, so will ARL just allow him through, or are they just going to have a bit of a fight?
Well, he's keen to have a good race after a disappointment from last one, and it does kind of go against a racer's instincts if that's the kind of mindset they're coming into the race to be looking out for their teammate. As well. They are on the same strategy as well. He may be the opinion that if he's faster, he can jolly well have a go at passing him rather than gifting him a position. I don't think their pace is so different at this stage. Usually a driver like in this position will feel like they're being held up by the train in front, and they could go faster too if only they didn't have these cars in front of them. Stefan just 0.4 of a second, maybe 5 now, behind Ghost, and they're starting. Well, they were gapping the field, but they've kind of held it at 2 seconds, the gap between second and third, and that's the biggest gap we've got in the top 10 at this stage. Burmeister's fight back to P10 already. Very impressive.
Yeah, and he's not far off the back of Livingwall here, but Livingwall, you have to say, doing very well on those hard compound tyres right now. He's absolutely in the ballpark to make the strategy work. He's all over the back of Ivan going into turn 1, but Ivan keeps his cool as we head through the Senna S and Curva de Sol. But you have to think, Livingwall, those tyres are going to start coming good now, lap 12, lap 13. So look out for Livingwall looking to start making a couple of moves up through the field, and then obviously go longer than these medium runners.
Although often we don't see the hard runner go that much longer. He'll go a lap or 2 longer, but as soon as the drivers are on new tyres, he's got a small window where he will be quicker with hot hards rather than cold hards. But often the medium window opens very early, the medium tyre to the end. You can usually get 50% of the race distance done on the medium tyre, so often that tipping point is quite similar.
Yeah, and unless you're in F3, in which it can be quite large. It all depends what you want in the end. Oh, that's a big moment. Who is that? That looks like Tirac.
Yep.
Tirac just had a massive moment out of Juncal.
But he's kept the car running. Unfortunately, he's going to lose place after place with the lack of...
And Stefan, the first of the pitters, he's looking to undercut.
He is, and Ghost will be very aware of that. Delange now right on the back of Speed Queen, on the back of that Red Bull. Livingwall still in this in contention here. We may see Livingwall on the podium after a poor qualifying by his high standards. Smoke versus Michael Lutka, is that going to turn into anything? And will they get out of the pits in front of Stefan is the question I'm looking at the moment. Stefan building the speed already, but these guys are going a little bit faster here. Stefan has managed to clear them, so he'll breathe a sigh of relief. He wouldn't want to be behind those two.
No, 14 seconds worth of fresh air. That is absolutely perfect for the Haas driver. And the question now, I mean, Ghost has to respond immediately, really. Yep.
That gap wasn't big enough to hang out there, was it? Unless he's planning a medium soft.
Well, I mean, Ghost, genuinely speaking, he might go another lap here and just have that lap of cold versus warm tyres, and he is doing exactly that. Because at this stage he can still pull a little bit more time from Stefan because of the temperature difference. So we wouldn't surprise if he comes in at the end of this lap.
Bell from Reshka into Curva 1 and looks to get the job done using DRS, but there was a little bit of having to do that on the brakes as well. Reshka will try and come back on the way through. We saw ARL Pit and Burmeister both in the pits already and putting on hard tyres for ARL, and it is side-by-side action with Reshka getting back past Ivan Belov. That was very well fought between the two drivers. I saw that gap shrinking and I thought we might be on for a little bit of a tasty moment, and yes, we got one indeed. Reshka hanging on but losing a place for the better part of the first 3 corners there.
Yeah, Reshka not going to give this one up. He's got Living Wall behind him at the moment. Both Alpines beating one of each of their rival teams. Yep. So this is very important for the constructors. But yeah, I think Ghost. What's he going to do this time? Is he going to pit? No, he does not.
Very interesting. So he's going to lap 16. 20 to go now. 20 to go in the race, including the added to the one that they're on at the moment. Delange in the pits. That's promoting Living Wall steadily but surely up to P5 now. He's got Reshka and Ivan Belov. Ivan Belov slows dramatically. Let's Tirac and Ivan Belov through. Excuse me, I've just contradicted myself. Ivan Belov letting Tirac and Living Wall through. Living Wall now in P3 on those hard tyres.
Yeah, I think possibly some contact between Ivan and Reshka, because Reshka had spun at curve 1. So maybe a bit of contact between the Alpine and the Ferrari.
Wasn't on my screen, unfortunately, so didn't see it. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
That would be my guess, anyway.
We got Michael Lutka holding off Delange, holding off Smoke. Smoke just getting past. Delange just getting by Smoke. He came out as ARL and Burmeister did behind these two fairly slow cars by the standards of F1 at least at the moment. Tirac is right behind.
Ivan, sorry, Webbo. Ivan round that Vico to Pato, which has allowed Reshka back through.
Is this one lap too long on these medium tyres? Did they choose the correct one? Ghost in the pits now, and now he's got a heck of a job here to try and get out in front of his rival Stefan.
Yeah, and meanwhile, as probably predicted, Speed Queen carrying on. Where's Stefan at the moment? Stefan's just coming through the 15th and final corner. Ghost just at the exit of the pit lane. I think he's going to do this with a little bit of margin here.
And Ivan Belov has retired from the session in the pits, thankfully, so no threat. But yeah, Ghost well ahead. That's quite an incredible overcut, honestly. He obviously was holding on to quite a bit of pace there.
Is it that, or is it just the fact that the hards is just that horrible?
Yeah, that's true. So Ghost on the hards now. He'll find out just how horrible they are for this first lap, but the gap has opened to 1.6 seconds. Tirac still on the medium tyres, as is Speed Queen, as is Michael Lutka, and Smoke keeping the tyres alive, but we've seen a couple of drivers have issues on the previous lap, so I wonder if the medium tyre lifespan is most definitely at the 16 lap mark from full fuel, so we should be good to the end of the race now. So it could well be that we see Living Wall pit for mediums in the next lap or two. In comes Tirac though from third place. Speed Queen carries on by.
Yeah, it's as we have. Is that I think that might be. Sorry, that might be Ivan's AI just retiring at Cedar Lagos. Stefan puts in the fastest lap of the race. And now he's starting to get onto the back of Ghost, and now you can see that tyre warm-up for Ghost isn't quick on this hard compound.
Delange passing Michael Lutka into curve 1. We've got a fight coming out of the pit lane at the moment, which is confusing because one of them is simply 90 who has retired. But they'll be coming out of the pits. They'll be given the green flag on the way out as well.
That'll be annoying for Tirac. That will be, because obviously the AI's come out very slowly. Well, I'm assuming, the AI's come out very slowly. And that has cost Tirac a lot of time against the likes of AR. I mean, look at that, he's about 3-4 seconds, well, probably a bit 4.5 seconds behind ARL. He's right on him earlier.
Halfway point of the race, and Stefan back to under half a second behind Ghost. Ghost, you've got to assume, has got these hard tyres up to temperature for the exit of Yunsao. That is the critical one here for defending his lead. He's obviously managing to use a little bit of ERS coming up the hill and has managed to put the gap on Stefan. I think that's too much for Stefan to have a go into turn 1 as we go under the, I think it's a Michelin blimp on the main grandstand there, near the start-finish straight. And Stefan unable to live quite here with Ghost at this stage with 48% ERS. Ghost has managed to save up to 84% with those last few laps. This might be the thing that saves him for the remainder of this stint. Of course, his tyres will be 3 laps younger, but I don't think there'll be a problem getting them to the end for either driver. Big battle going on in the midfield, JP, right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was just watching that. Burmeister now goes around the outside of ARL, as ARL didn't didn't really do much with Michael Look. I was expecting a bit more from that AlphaTauri,
Yeah.
but Burmeister comes steaming through and is now on the back of the Red Bull. Michael Look doing a similar thing here to Speed Queen. He's going very long on this medium compound, so it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But Burmeister looking to get past. You can see very eagerly he knows there's still some good points on offer here today.
Yeah, and the longer Speed Queen runs, the further into potential soft tyre run she goes. I didn't track how long the soft tyres have been successfully used so far. Let's watch Burmeister. Oh, sells the dummy on the inside, on the outside, then picks the inside to come through past Michael Lutker. It doesn't matter which way you're going when you've got that kind of speed in hand. Maybe ARL would fancy a bite of this as well, but Michael Lutker slotting back in, consolidating the loss to one place. Remember, Burmeister up into second place on the grid, dropped all the way down to the tail of the field, some 2.8 seconds behind the rearmost driver, Smoke, at the first sector of lap 1. Is back up now to 6th place. Great speed from Burr.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's only 1.4 off of Delange here. So this has been a good start. I'm going to say start of a recovery drive for Burmeister, because he's still got a long way to go yet.
What's interesting for Speed Queen is that her deltas will be showing the gap to Livingwall, who is on same age, different compound tyres and a different strategy. What she won't be able to see,
in the pits.
Livingwall stops before Speed Queen for the medium tyres at the end of the race. Speed Queen's still running on those mediums. She is absolutely going for it here today. It's not going to surprise me if she pulls out a masterstroke strategy.
No, absolutely. Mediums for definite onto Livingwall's car. And 13.1 the gap between Speed Queen and Ghost. So
we've got Stefan half a second behind Ghost here as well. But yeah, that gap now 13 seconds at the top of the field. Just an update from the driver room with Ivan. He had a FPS glitch on his game, really struggling to drive, and it looks like he's hit Reshka and he's apologising for it. Just really difficult with a buggy game for him today. The same bug he suffered previously, but thankfully he's going to stay on, and he's the host of the session, so he's going to stay on for us, which is very, very sporting of him indeed.
Yeah, it's always nice to see when drivers retire, they stay and watch the race.
Yeah,
a bit like real life, really. They don't really have much of a choice unless your name's Kimi Räikkönen and you go to your yacht in Monte Carlo.
Yes, ice creams at the ready.
Yeah, absolutely. But we can see ARL still behind Michael Lutker, and now Smoke's on the back of him. What is going on with that AlphaTauri? He should have been past Michael Lutker about 3 laps ago.
He is struggling for top speed, and he had quite a bit of grip in the rain. I wonder, whether he's on a higher downforce setting. He's going to try. We've got a good helicopter view as well on the stream at the moment. Oh, Michael Lutker off the T-bend. Yeah, and absolutely hit by Smoke. Unfortunately, that's just being offline for you. Unfortunately, that ARL made the move. It wasn't him. He didn't make any contact with Michael Lutker. It was just being on a new part of the track he hasn't visited before.
Yeah, a bit of a shame for Michael Lutker. Just squeezed the throttle a little bit too hard whilst just going a bit wide. And I mean, you got a feel for Smoke on that one. Just nowhere to go other than into the side pod of Michael Lutker. And it's going to affect Smoke more than Michael Lutker, I think.
All right, how deep does Speed Queen need to go, JP, to finish this race out on softs? Surely that's the only thing she's going for here. She is losing a second a lap at the moment to Ghost.
I would say, you want probably maximum only 10 laps. I'm not quite sure how quickly those softs burn.
Wow, we've got Livingwall with an amazing run on Burmeister. Burmeister tries to shut that down a little bit late. I don't know how you read that one, JP, but the rubbing wheels as Burmeister tried to close a gap that was already fully through. Livingwall up into P5 just behind his teammate now.
I didn't quite see it, so I can't really comment on the defence there, but Livingwall, fastest lap of the race as well, so whilst he's definitely Smoke gets a 5-second penalty for his troubles of having a broken front wing, and he's actually retired now.
Spin into the pit lane, the old kamikaze run into the pits.
Interesting here, Michael Lutker, I don't know if he's in a party with Speed Queen for the teammate, but he's onto the soft compound tyre. So is this a guinea pig trial of how much of these softs going to burn?
I'm just absolutely in awe of Speed Queen's tyre usage. She will clearly give up second and third place, first and second place in the pits. The question is, can she get back out in front of Delange, who is holding up potentially Livingwall here on this lap? Delange could really do with letting Livingwall by, I wonder here, to really make use of those mediums and defend against Speed Queen's lead. I don't know if they'll see just that length of the race in front of them at this point, but from an outsider's point of view, this could be costing a place to Speed Queen after the pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's normally about a 20 to 22 seconds pit stop round into Lagos, so I think she'd come out around about 6th. I don't know whether she's trying to hope for a bit of a safety car situation or not, but with this few drivers, I wouldn't be banking on that sort of strategy. So it'd be interesting to see. She now? No, she continues round once again to go on to her 25th.
So she will do 12 laps on the softs at most, which should be quite comfortable, I imagine. Once the car is light with fuel, it'll be a hair trigger if she sees a safety car come out. Where could that come from? It's dry conditions out there. It's unlikely to come from conditions, but we've got 3 cars together. Livingwall ahead of Delange now, and Burmeister, and we've got Tirac and ARL just do-si-doing around each other on the way out of Yonsao. What's going on with ARL?
ARL was rally crossing on the outside of Junkao. He decided to take his Joker lap rather than the racing line.
Well, don't try and find off-circuit routes like Raikkonen did that year.
Yeah.
How about this battle though for second right now?
Yeah, this is getting close, but this gap hasn't really changed that much. It's always hovered around the 0.3 to 0.5. And Stefan just hasn't had the ability to get past, and it's this ability of Ghost to keep the ERS. It's a massive weapon, especially on this year's game. It's such a powerful tool that if you've got more of it than the guy behind you, as Michael Lutka now sets the fastest lap of the race, which is impressive because that was with no DRS as well. Yeah, it's a massive weapon. If you've got more ERS than the guy behind you...
There we go, it's finally happened. Speed Queen in the pits. Surely that's a soft run coming. So Ghost and Stefan will retake the lead of this race right about now, and we'll wait to see. There they go. Queen. Fantastic. Medium to soft is a very, very brave strategy, you have to say. Will it work out though as she drops down to 6th at the moment? Will it be 7th with Tirac? No, I think Speed Queen will stay ahead here. So she'll come out in 6th. Gap to the leader for Speed Queen. We'll wait for her to pass the first sector and get a fair run on this. Gap to leader, 12 and a half seconds in 10 laps. Is that doable to get back on the podium?
I think it's doable. However, I'd say it's only really doable in clean air, and the problem is she's got two Alfa Romeos and a Haas in front of her, and 2 of those cars are going to be fighting quite hard because Burmeister is all over the back of Delange.
Got to say, she's quite likely to run into problems challenging Livingwall on newer mediums, but the others, surely they'll be easy work with the traction out of Yonsao on soft tyres.
Oh, and Burmeister almost into the back of Delange and Junkao.
Absolutely.
Big lock up for the Haas, and that has basically ruined the run he had, especially since Delange has DRS on his teammates, so that's a big mistake for Burr and not one he needed to do.
Oh, coming out of the pits ahead of us here is the... Oh, fantastic, it's a Red Bull being lapped. I thought he was going to be able to hold up the drivers for Speed Queen. There's some dark clouds on the horizon as well. That could also throw in a bit of a spanner into the works and be awful for anyone on hard tyres at this point. Ghost leads by 3, make it 0.4 of a second. Speed Queen 12 seconds off the lead. She had the pole position. She ran an inspired strategy so far. As long as everyone sticks on a one stop, this should work out very nicely for Speed Queen. But that the pain she took at the end of that stint might just have ruled out a battle for the win at the end of the race. We've got 9 laps to go. Stefan, big step of oversteer coming out of Yonsao. Is that a sign of temperatures dropping, or just a little bit of a hair trigger throttle application possibly?
I think it's a little bit of a happy right foot from Stefan. He knows how good Ghost is on the ERS. He knows he's got to catch him napping, and I think that was what he was attempting to do, trying to catch him napping on the exit of Junção, which has not quite worked. I think at the moment the best Speed Queen can really hope for right now, because she's not really making massive inroads here.
Yeah.
I'd say he's probably third. A podium is definitely on here for the Red Bull. It's just whether she can do it. Update on Michael Lutka as well. I don't believe he's in his car. I think he came into the pits to retire, but potentially left before it actually retired him, so his AI is currently driving around.
Well, Stefan managing to catch back a little bit of the losses he suffered with that oversteer moment. A big tight battle for third at the moment there, with Livingwall on the medium tyres trying to stretch away from Delange. I wonder if Livingwall is trying to keep Delange in the DRS to protect that Alfa Romeo 3-4, and rather than focusing on Speed Queen, who could come through and steal the podium from him.
Well, he might be hoping to use Speed Queen, because Burmeister's not going to want to give this up. So he may be almost using Speed Queen to get Burr off Delange's back, as well as trying to help him with DRS.
Speed Queen has gained a second a lap in the last 2 laps to the leader. She's now down to 10.2, but now the hard work begins, JP, here.
Yeah, absolutely. Then this is hard work. I mean, Burmeister doesn't give away positions, that's for certain. You definitely have to work for them.
Although he's derating at the moment, that will help. That will certainly help a little bit. Speed Queen has to wait though into Desida de Lago. She might need a speculative move into Bica de Pato perhaps, with her superior braking capability. Let's see if she can stay on terms, as Stefan is still half a second behind Ghost. Maybe just content to let Ghost run this at the front like a peloton rider in a cycle race. You can break the air barrier for everybody. Down the inside goes Speed Queen on her teammate's ghosted car. But this DRS train is really going to hurt Speed Queen's attempt to get back on the podium here. Check out those clouds though, JP.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to reach us in time. I don't see it happening. Not with just 7 laps to run here. But Speed Queen again just can't quite get alongside into Curve 1. And this DRS train very much in favour of Alfa Romeo right now, because currently, to the constructors, rather, Alpine would have an 18-point lead over Alfa Romeo, with Haas a further 1 behind.
Yeah.
As Reshka picks up a 3-second time penalty. Not that it matters, because he's at the back anyway. Michael Lutka, for anyone wondering, does not count in the points because he's not in his car.
No. Just checking out the ERS situation. Ghost still has way more, probably double what Stefan has at the moment. Smoke has left the session officially after watching with us for a few laps time. Out to 2/3 of a second now, the gap at the front. Livingwall still holding on to that 3rd place with his teammate behind him, just within DRS. Burmeister, despite the fact he's been derating for 2 or 3 laps, can keep enough battery in the tank, because Speed Queen has actually drained the battery trying to keep up here and battle with Burmeister.
Yeah, I think that's more case of just trying anything and everything to get past the Haas here. It's just not working, and the problem is, the longer this goes on, the higher the chance that Speed Queen's tyres start to fall off the cliff, and she doesn't really have the sort of advantage she would have done 2 laps ago. Stefan's still behind Ghost, and you have to feel that he needs to get this move done before the last lap. He wants to be entering Junção first on the last lap here. You have to feel, because it just seems to me like if you can get a good run out of Junção, get the ERS on early, it makes it very difficult for the car behind to really do anything.
Yeah, we will see what his tactics are. I don't know that he's got the top speed on Ghost to make it past in a fair fight. He's going to have to put pressure on Ghost here. Ghost going for win number 9 out of 12 at this current point in the championship, and of course for the championship.
Has Speed Queen got it this time? No, she doesn't.
No, it is still 3, 4, 5, 6. Living Wall, Delange, Burmeister, Speed Queen, as it was in the last 2 or 3 laps. And the leaders still half a second separating the two. It's lap 32 of 36, very much into the end of this stint. The hard tyre runners will be fine. Living Wall will almost certainly be fine too. Speed Queen, you've got to say, will keep those tyres alive. If she managed to do so on the mediums, surely she can do the same sort of thing on the softs. But unfortunately, I think just that stretching those mediums, just those 2 or 3 laps further than they really wanted to go at pace, has cost her significantly here, and now she's stuck at the end of DRS train, led by Living Wall, with Delange just behind him.
Yeah, I mean, it was worth a try, that from Speed Queen. I like the audacity of it. Just that it's just that thought, isn't it? Of if these mediums stay good and can still at least keep up with the fresh hards, you know, she did have a chance of getting close to Stefan and Ghost. As it was, she did just run them slightly too
a late
long.
lunge by Speed Queen. I think she was happy to stay behind, but she just got enough speed. They go side by side, tiny touch of sidewalls. I don't think that will be upsetting to either of them as they continue to run side by side. Surely she'll have better braking into Descida del Lago, but Burmeister holds firm and keeps that outside position. Better braking zone into Descida del Lago, and something's gone wrong with Stefan. He suddenly dropped a further half a second behind. Is that Ghost pressing the button in advance here, perhaps? Not really.
Could well be either that, or again, Stefan just getting a little bit too greedy with the right foot and just making the back kick, because especially in that middle sector, traction is everything through there. And bear in mind, Stefan's tyres are 3 laps older than Ghost's as well.
Yeah, well, Speed Queen is very close here. She's 2/10 on the way out of Yunsao. It stretches a little bit, but I think if she managed to get alongside last time, surely she's got enough to get up the hill. She went for a very late move into Curva 1. It would have been better to wait for the exit of Curva del Sol. Perhaps that's what the tactic is this time. She's got good grip coming out of the corner. Burmeister, though, pressing some ERS to come out of Curva del Sol, and he's still got that DRS, and this is killing Speed Queen and her hopes to get past all 4 of these drivers. And now that, as you were saying earlier, that grip delta that she had on the softs, it's just evaporating.
Yeah, it's in every way, and you can. I think Ghost really has now pulled the pin.
Yeah.
It's almost like it kind of makes you wonder if Stefan was just about keeping with him because of the DRS to some degree. Either that or Stefan's had a few too many wobbles that he's decided, let's calm it down, we'll take second for now. Because they are taking a couple of points out of Alpine. Not that there's a lot really in constructors, but they are outscoring them, which is something.
Absolutely, as you were then at the end of lap 35, end of lap 34 for places 3, 4, 5 and 6. They cannot make any inroads on one another. Living Wall doing a good job here of keeping the train behind him.
Burmeister having a big switch through Curva 1. It's not quite enough to allow Speed Queen an opportunity when they rest out Costa, but he doesn't want to do that too often.
No, indeed. He's had a couple of last lap spinneroos this season, and he doesn't want to go back to those dark days. He's had a really good run recently in the championship, and it certainly doesn't want to have that happen to him again. He's on hard tyres. They should have plenty of life by the end of this race. Ghost is just coming through the sector 2 of his penultimate lap. And he is on for a fabulous another dominant win here. Not all his own way, as many of the races haven't been JP, but he seems to have found a way to win so often. Burmeister struggling again out of Yunsao.
Fastest lap on lap 35, you have to be kidding me.
19 lap hold hard and he puts in a fastest lap of the race. Tremendous style from Ghost.
And bear in mind, where he situates now, he is world champion of the IRL F1.
Absolutely. Looks like it might be about to get tasty, heading towards the Decido del Lago for 4th place at least. Burmeister has a good run. Delange defends to the inside. Speed Queen hoping to mop up anything that happens between them. And she's got a great run. She's got a great run here. Wow. Stadium view for her. She's fully on the grass. Has to bail out of it. She could have stuck the foot in, but I think it all would have ended in tears at that point.
Oh, and Burmeister runs wide.
Wow. Okay, so Speed Queen does get that place over Burt for the end of the race. Must pay a little bit of attention though to Ghost. We've watched him a fair amount this race. It's not been all his own way, but about to take victory number 9 of 12, and in so doing, Ghost will become your new champion of F1 here in IRL. And take your hat off if you're wearing one. Applaud the tremendous dominance on display. Stefan secures 2nd, Living Wall in 3rd, and Delange in 4th. Speed Queen 5th place. Not a penalty in sight in the top 8 of our field, and that is a very good accomplishment. There's Burmeister in 6th. Tirac crosses the line in 7th. ARL, I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with 8th after wanting to come back strong. Reshka, double points for Alpine in their bid for the Constructors' Championship, but today is all about Ghost. JP.
Absolutely. It's another stunning drive, and as we constantly say time and time before, the stats don't tell the whole story. Yes, that's his 9th win of the season. Yes, that's his 11th podium of the season. He's only not been on the podium once, but it has not been all his own way. He has had some really tough races to win. A lot of them against Stefan, I must admit, and Livingwall. Between Ghosts, the Hasses, the Alpha and Mayos, Ghost really hasn't had it all his own way, apart from when it crosses the line. So it's a fantastic and well-deserved championship for him.
It really is. The now familiar swagger on the podium from Ghost's avatar. Champagne time, and it will never taste quite as sweet as this Ghost's, I think, first championship victory here in F1 in Invictus Racing League, but I believe he's had an absolute tear of a season elsewhere as well. Ghost then, fastest lap and the win, 43-minute race time. JP, you can take us through the rest.
So it is Ghost who takes the win, and with it the title. Stefan in 2nd. It was a valiant effort by him, but not quite close enough. Livingwall 3rd with Delange in 4th. Speed Queen 5th, Burmeister 6th, Tirac in 7th, ARL finishes 8th, Breshka the last finisher in 9th. Michael Lutka, Smoke, Ivan and Simply all unfortunately not finishing this race.
But a single 3-second penalty across our entire finishers was quite...
unfortunately got 1 set of 3 seconds.
Yeah, so just... underlining the quality here at the top of the tree at Invictus. We've got various people joining. I've seen Stefan and I've seen Livingwall. I would love to get a word with Ghost. He knows his way to the press conference by now, but 9 wins out of 12. Can he keep the run going? Can he make this a history-making title win as well? We'll be focusing understandably on the constructors battle and the battle in the minor placings for the championship, but let me just be the first to say congratulations to the new Invictus Racing League F1 champion. It's Ghost.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well, that was a nice way to win it as well. Qualifying was a bit of well, not quite a disaster. That was Imola, but it's not ideal. And then got a good start and sort of just carried the momentum and managed to keep Stefan behind. But he put me under a lot of pressure all race. So huge credit to him. It was a shame he made the couple of mistakes that dropped him out of DRS, and then I think he just sort of dropped off and made sure he finished 2nd. So, but fair play to him. That was a great race. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, wow. championship, I don't really know what to say. It's been a pretty good season for me.
Yeah, you could say that. This is fairly underwhelming and understated of you Ghost so far. JP, can you get anything more spicy out of our new champion?
Yeah, so obviously congratulations on the title. But I think I have to ask, how comfortable were you with Stefan behind you that close, pretty much throughout the entirety of the race until the end? I mean, the gap never really got above 0.5 of a second. He was always in your DRS, always in the slipstream. You know, I mean, how comfortable really was that? Because I can't imagine it was too comfortable having to constantly look behind you.
Yeah, I think once I realized his straight line speed wasn't as good as mine, I thought that I wasn't comfortable until the end when he dropped off. He put me under a lot of pressure, but I knew basically I just had to not make any mistakes, and that was the key. And so yeah, because the way we were both driving, because his straight line speed was lower than mine, or maybe he just didn't go for the overtake, he didn't use the ERS, I don't know, but I think the way we were both driving, it was only ever going to be a mistake that swapped our positions or that made a difference to us finishing right next to each other. And it was Stefan that made the mistake in the end, unfortunately. But I didn't feel comfortable, but I felt okay because of the straight line speed difference.
Tremendous stuff. Really was masterful performance once again from you, Ghost. Will you be going full throttle for all the records? You've currently got a better win ratio than Max Verstappen this season. I wonder if you'll keep pushing to the end, or and would you follow any team orders to let your teammate by to secure more points?
Absolutely, I'm going to keep pushing because we want to win the constructors. I think Reshka's been a fantastic teammate all season. It just shows that it doesn't matter if, at least to me, it doesn't matter if my teammate isn't sort of on podiums every week or whatever. All that matters to me is that I have someone to be fairly chill and to keep me calm, and so I can keep him calm as well during races on the voice call, and that's all that matters to me. And he's been fantastic all season, so I think I want to make sure we get the constructors, and a very important 2 points for Reshka today as well in that battle, after he got in an incident. He did well today, and we've got to keep pushing for that constructors.
Wow, fantastic. What's left to achieve? What's next on your bucket list for your racing career, do you think, after this?
In Invictus or in general?
However you like. Are you back to defend, and
of course.
What are you dreaming of?
I love it here. Of course I'll be back to defend. Not just because I'm winning. I loved it last season as well when I only won one race. I think it's a great league. I'm very happy to be part of it, and I'm very honoured to be on the champions list now. I'll definitely be back, and I hope I'll be here a long time to come. But yeah, I think I'm happy where I am in my racing career at the moment. I'm having a lot of fun, and doing really well. So, that's about all you can ask for.
Yeah, well, cheers to you. Chapeau and congratulations to the new champion. Let's speak to the rest of the podium who've been patiently waiting. Stefan, we mentioned you a few times there in Ghost's interview because you have been probably the most consistent challenger in race pace when you've been on terms there with Ghost. What was the key today, and how close do you think you came to taking that victory?
First of all, congratulations to Ghost. He's been flawless all season, so very deserved. I think that's the fourth time this season where we spent pretty much the whole race together. And I think I've got like 6 second places or something and no win. It's really frustrating, I'm not gonna lie. To come that close so many times and just not be able to get over the edge is there's only 2 races. No, 3 is it 3 races to go after this?
Yep.
I think there's 3 races, yeah. I'm desperate for that win so bad, you have no idea how much I want it.
Good.
I was so confident going into tonight. It was probably my best track. I felt very good in practice, and unfortunately, obviously, Burr had that massive spin at the beginning, which didn't help. But yeah, his straight line speed all season has just been something I can't handle. It tends to be an issue when he gets in front of me. I can't seem to overtake him back, and his ERS management is obviously better than mine because I knew he had almost 90% towards the end of the race before he started using it. So, and I had like half. So at that point, it's kind of over. I was just trying to stay in his DRS and hope for a mistake, but I made 3 mistakes in that last stint and 2 major ones that took me out of DRS.
Well, don't be too hard on yourself. It was still a very, very good performance, JP. I know you agree.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was a phenomenal performance. Obviously, your car is just not quite quick enough in a straight line. However, obviously you pitted about 3 laps earlier than Ghost, obviously for that undercut. Were you expecting Ghost to come out as far ahead as he did? Also, we know you caught him out due to the difference in tyre temperatures, but were you expecting that gap when he came out of the pits? Because you were definitely looking for quite a large undercut there.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, I've done this a few times where I've stayed out and just stayed in the DRS, and he's got the undercut on me. So I thought, screw it, I'm going to do something completely different today. And so I thought, okay, and I knew Burr wanted to pit lap 14, so I took the 13 and just tried something completely random. Luckily I came out in free air, otherwise I'd been in big trouble. But yeah, I didn't expect him to be like 3 seconds ahead when he came out. I was very shocked, but I knew I'd catch him up obviously. But by that point, he still had the ERS control over me, and his tyres got up to temperature by the time I caught him up. So there wasn't a lot I could do in the end, unfortunately.
So I presume to win these last races, you'll be trimming out the wings as far as you could possibly stay on the circuit.
To put them as low as possible to get some, especially Abu Dhabi, because I know he's going to be very quick in that straight line. So I've got to find something where I don't lose it in the slower sectors.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on another second place, and yes, like I say, don't be too hard on yourself. That was a cracking performance. Being second to Ghost this year, I don't think there's any shame in that. And Livingwall, talking about being second to Ghost, Livingwall, you're still second in the championship, I'm sure, and you'll be fighting there with Stefan for that final placing. But talk us through your race tonight.
Yeah, first off, congrats to Ghost. Incredible racing all season, so well deserved. Just a matter of time, so congrats. Well, I think my race got kind of compromised already by doing the bad qualifying that I did. I think I started in 9th position, something. So I just thought standing there on the grid that I would do something completely different to everyone else. So I opted to start on the hards and just go long and then try to see where that would take me. And obviously, I was kind of close to Burr and Delatch already when I got out of the pits, and I kind of noticed that Burr was low on ERS already, so I passed him pretty quick, and then me and Mark were talking a little bit as well, and I passed him, and then we just tried to play the team game all the way into the finish line, basically. So I dragged him along for the rest of the race because he was out of ERS at times as well. So just try to keep him in my DRS, and we try to make the most of it for the team to get the most points possible.
Absolutely. Well, JP, anything for Livingwall before we say goodnight on the stream?
Yeah, obviously, you're speaking about the constructors there, Livingwall, which is completely understandable. Obviously, with Ghosts, obviously the driver's gone. Obviously tonight, no one made any inroads into Alpine. You guys in Alpine obviously dead level on points scored tonight, obviously provisionally. So how are you going to go about the next few races? Are we going to see more split strategy to try and maximise the potential of the car? Or are we going to see a little bit more unity in terms of strategy between you and Delange and go in the same direction?
I think it's hard to tell, but I think we could do with a little bit more practice than just 1 hour before the race. So maybe start there, and then we'll see where it goes.
Wise words indeed, and I'm sure that Ghost is putting in plenty of time in the practicing as well as all the other races and championships he's competing in. Well, congratulations once again to our podium, to Living Wall in third, Stefan in second, and our new champion winning it in style with a fastest lap and win. It's Ghost once again winning his 9th of 12 with a better win ratio than Max Verstappen in 2022 so far. Let's see if that continues. Let's see how the rest of the week goes on as well here on the channel. F2 tomorrow, F3 Wednesday, Realistic Performance on Thursday. But from JP, from everyone here at F1 division of Invictus Racing League, and me, Webbo, good night to you all, and we'll catch you on the next race day.